The rain fell hard on the metal roof of June's repair shop. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished fixing an old hover bike. The shop sat at the edge of Neo Seoul, surrounded by piles of scrap metal and forgotten machine parts. Business was slow, and June barely made enough money to pay for his small apartment above the shop. That should do it, June said to himself, tightening the last bolt. He was about to close up for the night when he heard a loud crash from the junkyard behind his shop. June grabbed his flashlight and walked outside. The rain soaked through his thin jacket as he moved between tall piles of junk. Lightning flashed, revealing a small smoking object half buried in mud. It was not much bigger than a microwave with strange markings on its metal surface. What is this? June knelt beside the object. It looked like some kind of escape pod, but smaller than any he had seen before. The metal was hot to touch, suggesting it had fallen from the sky recently. June noticed a blinking light on one side. He pressed it, and the top of the pod slid open with a hiss. Inside, curled up in a small space, was a creature unlike anything June had ever seen. It was a tiny wolf-like animal with pure white fur. Its eyes were closed and it appeared to be sleeping or unconscious. The creature was small, no bigger than a house cat. Its white fur had a slight glow in the darkness, and June could see strange markings burned into its skin. "Hello there," June whispered, reaching out slowly. The creature's eyes snapped open, revealing bright violet pupils that seemed to glow. It tried to back away, but was too weak to move much. June could see cuts and bruises on its small body. "I won't hurt you," June said softly. He noticed a metal tag attached to the creature's neck. The writing was in an alien language, but June recognized some of the symbols from his work with off-world clients. The tag read, "Defective" and "Reject." June felt anger rise inside him. Who would label a living being as defective? The small animal trembled, either from fear or cold or both. Without thinking twice, June gently picked up the creature, wrapping it in his jacket. "Let's get you inside and warm," he said. Back in his shop, June cleared a space on his workbench. He placed the creature on a clean towel and examined it more carefully. The white wolf-like animal had unusual features up close. Its ears were longer than an earth wolf's, and small silver markings ran along its spine. Despite its injuries, June could tell it was young, perhaps even a baby of its species. June cleaned the cuts with warm water and applied healing gel he kept for his own workshop injuries. The creature watched him with those strange violet eyes, still afraid but no longer trying to escape. "You must be hungry," June said. He went upstairs to his small kitchen and returned with some leftover meat. The creature sniffed at the food but did not eat. June frowned. "Not the right food, huh? What do you eat?" After trying several options, the creature finally accepted some protein bars June had bought from an alien trader last month. As it ate, June noticed how the silver markings on its fur seemed to glow faintly. "You're not from around here, are you?" June smiled. "I wonder where you came from." Just then, the front door chime rang. June quickly covered the small creature with a cloth and went to see who was there so late. 3 tall aliens stood in the doorway. They had gray skin and wore black uniforms with a star-shaped symbol on their chests. June recognized them as traders from the Starfall Collective, known for their questionable business practices across the galaxy. "Can I help you?" June asked, trying to sound casual. The tallest alien stepped forward. "We are tracking a stolen item that crashed in this area. Have you seen anything fall from the sky in the last hour?" June felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He thought of the small creature trembling on his workbench, branded as defective and rejected. "No, nothing," June lied. "Just rain and thunder." The alien narrowed his eyes. "Our scanners indicated something landed near here, a small pod with important collective property inside." "Many things fall in this junkyard," June said with a shrug. "Old satellites, space junk, broken drones. But I haven't seen any pods tonight." The second alien pushed past June into the shop. "We will search your premises." June's heart raced, but he kept his face calm. "Fine, but make it quick. I need to close up." The alien searched around the main shop area. June held his breath when one of them approached the workbench, but at that moment, the lights flickered from the storm, In the brief darkness, June slid the cloth with the small creature underneath the bench and kicked some tools over it. After 10 minutes of searching, the aliens seemed satisfied. "If you see anything unusual, contact the collective immediately," the leader said, handing June a communication chip. "There is a reward for the return of our property." "I'll keep an eye out," June promised. After the aliens left, June quickly locked the door and pulled down the security shutters. He retrieved the small creature from under the bench. It was shaking with fear, its violet eyes wide. "It's okay now," June whispered. "They're gone." That night, June made a small bed for the creature in a drawer near his own bed. As he watched the small white wolf curl up, he wondered what he had gotten himself into. Hiding something from the Starfall Collective was dangerous. They were known for their cruelty, especially to those who stole from them. But looking at the sleeping creature, with its cuts now bandaged and its small chest rising and falling peacefully, June knew he had made the right choice. "I'll call you, Beck," he said quietly. "It means white in my language." Outside, more ships from the Starfall Collective entered Neo-Sol's atmosphere, their searchlights scanning the city below. The storm continued to rage, hiding June's small shop in darkness. June sat by the window, watching the ships. "What are you?" he whispered, looking back at the sleeping Beck. "And why are they so desperate to find you?" As if in response, the silver markings on Beck's fur glowed briefly in the dark room. June did not know it yet, but his life had just changed forever. The small rejected creature sleeping in his room was the last of a legendary species, and June was now its protector. 3 months passed since June found Bayek in the crashed pod. Spring came to Neo-Sol, bringing warmer days and fewer Starfall Collective ships in the sky. The small white wolf creature grew stronger each day. The cuts and bruises healed, leaving only faint marks on his pure white fur. June woke up early as usual and found Bayek sitting by the window watching hovercars fly by. The small creature turned to look at him, violet eyes bright and alert. "Good morning, Beck," June said with a smile. "Ready for breakfast?" Beck made a happy chirping sound that was nothing like an earth wolf. Over the past months, June had learned that Beck was very smart. He understood words and seemed to know what tools June needed before the mechanic even asked for them. After breakfast, June went downstairs to open his shop. Beck followed, jumping from step to step. The small white wolf was now the size of a large house cat, still much smaller than what June imagined a full-grown alien wolf should be. "Stay hidden if customers come," June reminded Beck, who nodded as if understanding perfectly. The morning was busy with 3 hover bikes needing repairs. June worked hard, sweat dripping down his face as he fixed damaged engines. During a short break, he noticed something strange. Beck was sitting near a broken engine, staring at it with great focus. The small wolf then looked at June and made a series of sounds before walking to a shelf and pointing with his paw at a specific tool. "You want me to use that?" June asked, surprised. Beck nodded, then pointed at a specific part of the engine. Curious, June picked up the tool and checked the spot Beck indicated. To his surprise, he found a tiny crack that was causing the engine to fail. It was in a place June would never have thought to look. "How did you know?" June whispered, amazed. Beck just tilted his head, violet eyes blinking. After that day, June's business began to improve. With Beck's strange ability to find hidden problems in machines, June fixed things faster and better than ever before. Customers started talking about the magic touch of the mechanic from the edge of town. One evening, while counting the day's earnings, June had an idea. He pulled out an old collar-like device he had bought from a traveling merchant years ago. It was a simple universal translator meant for pets, but June had never had a use for it until now. "Let's try this," he said, carefully placing the collar around Bayek's neck. The small wolf sat still, trusting June completely. June adjusted some settings and turned on the device. "Can you understand me, Beck?" The collar hummed softly, then a mechanical voice spoke. "Yes. Understand, June." June nearly fell off his chair, in shock. "You can talk, not talk. Think," came the reply through the translator. "Beck, think. Machine speak." Over the next few days, June learned more about Bayek through their limited conversations. The translator wasn't perfect, but it was enough for simple communication. "Where do you come from?" June asked one night as they sat on the roof of the shop looking at the stars. "Far Place. Star Birthplace. Lyria." The mechanical voice was flat, but June could sense sadness in Bayek's violet eyes. "Why did they call you defective?" Bayek was quiet for a long time. Finally, the translator spoke. "Bayek, wrong color, too small. Not grow big like others, not strong enough." June felt anger rising inside him again. Who decided that? Makers. Star people. They want weapons. Want big wolves. June placed a gentle hand on Beck's head. "You're perfect, just the way you are." The next day, a new customer came to the shop. She brought in an old speeder with engine trouble. June noticed she wasn't like his usual customers. She wore a lab coat and had tools of her own hanging from her belt. "I'm Hannah," she said, shaking June's hand. "I heard you can fix things others can't." While June worked on her speeder, Hannah walked around the shop looking at his tools and parts. She seemed particularly interested in some alien technology June had collected over the years. Suddenly, there was a crash from the back room. June's heart sank. Beck was supposed to be hiding there. "What was that?" Hannah asked, moving toward the sound. "Probably just some parts falling," June said quickly, trying to block her path. But Hannah was already opening the door. Beck stood in the middle of the room, a fallen box beside him. His violet eyes were wide with fear. "Is that?" Hannah whispered, staring at Beck. June stepped between them. "He's my friend. Please don't tell anyone." To his surprise, Hannah knelt down slowly. "I won't tell. I know what he is." "You do?" Hannah nodded. "I'm a cryptobiologist. I study unknown species." She looked at Beck with wonder in her eyes. "I've only seen pictures in ancient books. This is a Lyrian guardian beast, or at least a young one." Beck approached Hannah cautiously, sniffing her hand. "He's very small for a guardian," Hannah said. "They're supposed to grow as big as a hover car." "He was rejected for being too small," June explained. "The Starfall Collective was breeding them as weapons." Hannah's face darkened. "The Collective destroys everything it touches. They probably stole genetic material from Lyria before it was destroyed." A week later, Bayek became sick. He wouldn't eat and his white fur lost its shine. June was desperate, not knowing how to help an alien creature. He called Hannah, who came right away with medical equipment. "His body is changing," Hannah said after examining Beck. "It's like he's going through some kind of growth process, but his system is struggling." For 3 days, June and Hannah took turns, watching over Beck. They gave him medicine and made sure he drank special fluids Hannah prepared. On the 4th morning, June woke to find Beck sitting up, looking stronger than before. But something was different. Faint blue lines now ran through Beck's white fur, glowing softly in the dim light. "Your fur," June said, pointing to the glowing patterns. Beck looked down at himself and the translator spoke. "Growing. Changing. Not wrong after all." Hannah came by later and was amazed at the change. The Lyrian Guardians were said to develop energy patterns as they matured. The old stories say they could do amazing things with that energy. That night after Hannah left, June sat with Bayek on his bed. "What happens when you grow up, Bayek? Will you still want to stay with a simple mechanic? Like me?" Beck pressed his head against June's hand, and the translator spoke words that warmed June's heart. "June saved Bayek. June is Bayek's family now. Always stay." Outside, a Starfall Collective ship passed over Neo Sol, its searchlights sweeping the streets. Neither June nor Bayek knew that their peaceful days were numbered. The Collective had not given up their search, and they were getting closer. As Beck slept, the blue patterns on his fur glowed brighter, and he grew just a tiny bit larger. Something was awakening inside the small white wolf, something the Starfall Collective had never expected when they labeled him defective and threw him away. 2 years passed. Neosol changed with new buildings rising higher and more ships filling the skies. June's repair shop remained the same, though business was better than ever thanks to his reputation for fixing the unfixable. Beck was no longer small. He had grown to the size of a large earth wolf, his white fur now covered with intricate blue patterns that glowed at night. The rejection mark that once scarred his side had faded completely. June had to update the translator collar 3 times to fit Bike's growing neck. On a warm summer morning, June worked on a luxury hover car while Beck watched from a corner of the shop. Hannah sat nearby, typing notes on her datapad. "His growth is remarkable," Hannah said, looking up at Beck. "Guardian beasts were said to be much larger than this, but the legends might be exaggerated." June wiped grease from his hands. "Either way, he's getting harder to hide." Beck's ears suddenly perked up. He stood, the blue patterns on his fur glowing brighter. "What is it?" June asked. The translator spoke with urgency. "Danger coming, bad people." Before June could ask more, the shop door slid open. A tall man in a black uniform walked in, flanked by 4 armed guards. On his chest was the familiar star symbol of the Starfall Collective. His cold eyes scanned the room, stopping when they found Beck. "There it is," the man said with a satisfied smile. "Specimen L7, our missing project." June stepped in front of Beck. "Who are you?" "Commander Ryu of the Starfall Collective Research Division." He pulled out a small device and showed an official-looking document. "That creature is valuable collective property, illegally removed from our facility." Hannah stood up, her face hard. "Lyrian guardians are sentient beings, not property." Commander Ryu laughed. "This female knows her extinct species. Impressive." His smile vanished. "But irrelevant. The collective created this specimen in our labs. It belongs to us." "Bike doesn't belong to anyone," June said, his voice firm despite his fear. "He's free to choose where he wants to be." "It has no choice. It was bred for a purpose." Commander Ryu signaled to his guards. "Secure the specimen. Arrest these 2 for theft of collective property." The guards moved forward, weapons ready. June looked around for anything to use as a weapon, but knew they were outmatched. Suddenly, all the lights in the shop flickered and died. The guards' weapons made strange sparking sounds and shut down. Even Commander Ryu's document device went dark. Beck stood with his fur glowing brighter than ever, the blue patterns pulsing with energy. "Run," the translator spoke. "Beck, hold them." Taking advantage of the confusion, June grabbed his emergency bag from under the counter. Hannah quickly collected her datapad. Together they slipped out the back door with Beck following close behind. They ran through the maze of junk piles behind the shop, hearing angry shouts as Commander Ryu ordered his men to pursue. June led them to an old transport vehicle he had been repairing. "Get in," he told Hannah, jumping into the driver's seat. Beck leaped into the back. The engine roared to life, and they sped away just as the guards appeared, firing weapons that were working again now that they were away from Beck. "What did you do back there?" June asked Beck as they raced through the outskirts of the city. The translator crackled. "Energy, control machines, new ability." Hannah looked amazed. The guardian beasts were said to have power over energy fields. That's why they were so valuable as protectors. They drove for hours, leaving Neo Sol far behind. June took them into the mountains where fewer people lived. By nightfall, they reached an abandoned mining facility built into the side of a mountain. "We should be safe here for a while," June said, parking the vehicle inside an old equipment shed. That night, they made a small camp inside the main building. While Hannah slept, June sat with Bayek, watching the blue patterns glow in the darkness. "How did you do that with the lights and weapons?" June asked quietly. "Not sure," the translator replied. "Felt danger. Felt need to protect June and Hannah. Energy came." June nodded, thinking. "You've always been able to sense things in machines. Maybe it's part of the same ability." Beck moved closer to June and something strange happened. June felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his own. Gratitude, loyalty, and concern. He gasped, looking at Beck in surprise. "Did you feel that too?" June asked. "Yes," the translator said. Mind connection growing. Beck can share feelings with June now. The next morning, Hannah found supplies in the old facility. Food packets that were still good and clean water from a mountain spring that ran through the mines. As they ate breakfast, they heard a vehicle approaching. Beck growled, fur glowing. But Hannah held up her hand. "Wait, I don't think it's the collective." An old hover truck stopped outside. A thin, older man with gray hair stepped out, looking around cautiously. "Hello?" he called. "I mean no harm. I saw your vehicle tracks and wanted to check if you need help." June and Hana exchanged glances. Beck's fur dimmed slightly, suggesting he didn't sense immediate danger. The man introduced himself as Dr. Min, a scientist who lived alone in the mountains. When he saw Beck, his eyes widened in recognition. "A Lyrian guardian," he whispered. "I never thought I'd see one in person." Later, sitting in Dr. Min's small cabin further up the mountain, the old scientist revealed his story. He had once worked for the Starfall Collective, helping create their breeding program for extinct species. "I left when I saw what they really wanted," Dr. Min said, his voice sad. "They didn't care about preserving species. They wanted living weapons they could control." He looked at Bayek with wonder. "This one was part of the albino batch, wasn't it? The ones they rejected?" June nodded. "They called him defective." Dr. Min laughed bitterly. "Those fools. They knew nothing of Lyrian history. The White Guardians were the most powerful of all. The albino trait was linked to the strongest psionic abilities." "Psionic?" Hana asked. "Mental powers, energy manipulation, telepathy." The ancient texts described White Guardians as the leaders of their packs because of these abilities. Dr. Min leaned closer to Beck. "They discarded him because they didn't understand what they had created." "Commander Ryu seemed very determined to get Beck back," June said. Dr. Min's face darkened. "Ryu is the worst of them. He doesn't just want to capture your friend. He wants to extract genetic material to create more controllable versions." "Can he do that?" Hana asked, worried. "Not easily. The full genome can only be properly harvested once the Guardian reaches maturity." Dr. Min looked at Bayek. "But this one is growing. Given time, he will become what the collective truly fears, a fully realized Guardian that they cannot control." That night, as Dr. Min showed them to rooms in his cabin, June felt another wave of emotion from Bayek. Determination mixed with something like hope. Through the translator, Bayek said words that sent chills down June's spine. Not alone anymore. More like Bayek out there, waiting, growing, soon. 3 more years passed in the mountain hideaway. The abandoned mining facility had become a sanctuary, not just for June, Hana, and Bayek, but for other creatures rescued from Starfall Collective labs. Dr. Min used his knowledge to help them create a safe haven hidden from scanning technology. June and Hana were now married, working together to expand the sanctuary. June built protective systems while Hana studied the rescued creatures, learning about their needs and abilities. Beck had continued to grow. He now stood as tall as June's chest, his white fur crisscrossed with intricate blue patterns that glowed with energy. His mental connection with June had strengthened, allowing them to share not just emotions but simple thoughts and images. On a cool autumn morning, June sat with Beck on a cliff overlooking the valley. Far below, Neo Sol sparkled in the distance. "Do you miss the city?" June asked. Beck turned his violet eyes to June. The translator collar was rarely needed now, but June still kept it updated. "Miss fixing machines," Beck replied through their mental link. His thoughts had become clearer over time, forming complete sentences in June's mind. June smiled, scratching behind Bayek's ears. "Me too sometimes. But we help more beings here." A soft alarm sounded from June's wrist device. Someone was approaching the sanctuary perimeter. They hurried back to the main building where Hana was checking monitors. "Single vehicle," she reported. "It's Gil." Gil was their contact in Neo Sol, a trader who brought them supplies and news from the city. He came once a month, never staying long to avoid being tracked. When Gil arrived, his usual cheerful face was serious. "Bad news," he said, placing a package on the table. "The collective knows you're in these mountains. They've been increasing patrols." "How did they find us?" June asked, worried. Gil looked uncomfortable. "They caught Kim 2 weeks ago." June felt his heart sink. Kim was another of their helpers, a pilot who transported rescued creatures to safer planets. Did he tell them where we are? Hannah asked. Not exactly, but they narrowed it down to this mountain range. Gil pulled out a small device and showed them a map. They're setting up search patterns. It's only a matter of time. That night, after Gil left, June, Hannah, and Dr. Min discussed what to do. They had 23 rescued beings in their care, many too fragile to move quickly. We could split up, Hannah suggested. Take the most vulnerable to the southern caves. Dr. Min shook his head. The collective has too many resources. Running will only delay the inevitable. Beck, who had been listening quietly, stood up. His mental voice reached all three humans, something he had only recently learned to do. We must prepare to fight. Beck's thoughts were clear and determined. This is our home now. We protect it. The next morning, they began preparations. June set up defensive systems around the sanctuary perimeter. Hannah organized the healthier residents to help care for the weaker ones. Dr. Min worked on emergency medical supplies. Beck spent hours on the highest peak, his white form visible against the dark rocks, violet eyes scanning the horizon. Through his connection with June, he sent regular updates about patrols he spotted in the distance. For 2 weeks, they prepared and waited. Then, on a misty morning, Beck's urgent warning came through the mental link. They are coming. Many ships. Many soldiers. From the monitors, they counted 5 large transport ships and dozens of smaller craft surrounding the mountain. At their head was a sleek black ship that June recognized from his research into the collective's leadership. Commander Ryu, he said grimly. He's leading this himself. The first attack came at midday. Collective soldiers tried to breach the lower defenses but were driven back by June's security systems. By evening, they had set up a perimeter, cutting off all escape routes. A communication signal beeped on their main console. When June accepted it, Commander Ryu's face appeared on the screen. Mechanic, he said with a cold smile. It's been years. I see you've been busy. What do you want, Ryu? June asked, knowing the answer. You know what I want? The Guardian. Hand it over, and perhaps I'll let you and the others live. Hannah stepped into view. Beck is not a thing to be handed over. He's a living being with rights, Ryu laughed. Rights? It's collective property, a failed experiment that should have been destroyed years ago. His face hardened. You have until sunrise to surrender it, or we take it by force. After the communication ended, they gathered in the main chamber. The rescued beings huddled together, afraid. We can't give up Beck, a small blue creature chirped. He protects us. Never, agreed another, a plant-like being with glowing tendrils. We fight for our friends. Dr. Min looked troubled. The collective has weapons that can penetrate our defenses. Many will die if we fight. Beck walked into the center of the room, his white fur glowing brightly. No one dies for Beck. His mental voice reached everyone. Beck will go. No. June grabbed Beck's fur. You know what they'll do to you. They'll take what they want and destroy you. Better one than all. Beck replied sadly. Hannah had tears in her eyes. There must be another way. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the sanctuary. The monitors showed collective soldiers at the south entrance placing explosive devices. They're not waiting until sunrise, Dr. Min said, grabbing medical supplies. Get everyone to the central chamber, June ordered, activating the last defensive measures. The first explosion rocked the entire mountain. Dust fell from the ceiling as lights flickered. More explosions followed, each closer than the last. In the central chamber, the rescued beings crowded together. June and Hannah stood protectively in front of them, makeshift weapons ready. Dr. Min tended to a young creature injured by falling debris. Beck stood in the center, his fur glowing brighter than ever. Through their connection, June felt something building within his friend. Power, energy, and determination. The main door to the chamber burst open. Commander Ryu walked in, flanked by heavily armed soldiers. His cold eyes found Beck immediately. There. It is, he said, smiling. Magnificent specimen, much larger than expected. Leave this place, June demanded. You're not welcome here. Ryu ignored him, stepping closer to Beck. You've cost me years of research, L7. But it was worth the wait. Your genetic material will give us everything we need. He pulled out a control device. This will temporarily disable your neural functions. Don't worry, we need you alive for the extraction process. As Ryu raised the device, Dr. Min suddenly lunged forward. No, he shouted, throwing himself between Ryu and Beck. A soldier fired. Dr. Min fell to the ground, a burning wound in his chest. Min! Hana cried, rushing to him. The distraction was enough. Ryu activated the device, sending a pulse of energy toward Bayek. The White Guardian howled in pain, dropping to the ground. Beck! June tried to reach his friend but was held back. By soldiers. Hana knelt beside Dr. Min, who was breathing his last. He gripped her hand tightly. The transformation, he whispered. It comes with great need. Ryu stood over Beck, watching the Guardian struggle against the neural disruptor. Prepare for transport, he ordered his men. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. Beck's body began to glow with blinding white light. The blue patterns on his fur seemed to expand, covering him completely. What is happening? Ryu demanded, stepping back. Through the pain of their connection, June felt Bayek changing, growing, transforming. When the light faded, Bayek stood before them, but he was no longer the size of a large wolf. He towered over everyone, massive and majestic, the size of a small transport ship. His white fur blazed with blue energy that flowed like rivers across his body. His violet eyes glowed like stars. He had become a true guardian beast. A wave of energy pulsed from Bayek's body, disabling all collective weapons and devices. The neural disruptor in Ryu's hand crumbled to dust. Impossible, Ryu whispered, fear replacing confidence on his face. The data said albinos couldn't reach full maturity. Through their mental link, stronger than ever, Beck's voice echoed in June's mind. They were wrong about me. They always were. 5 years had passed since June found a tiny, rejected alien wolf in a crashed pod behind his repair shop. Now he stood on the observation deck of the sanctuary, watching as Beck moved across the valley below. The once small creature now towered over the trees, his massive white form glowing in the morning light. Blue energy patterns flowed across his fur like rivers of light. The sanctuary had grown too. What began as an abandoned mining facility was now a sprawling complex built into the mountainside. Transparent domes protected gardens where once endangered species thrived. Energy shields, powered by technology Bayek had helped develop, kept them safe from outside threats. Hana joined June on the deck, resting her head on his shoulder. The new arrivals are settling in well, she said. That makes 37 species now. After Bayek's transformation and the defeat of Commander Ryu's forces, word had spread among those who rescued endangered beings. The mountain sanctuary became a symbol of hope, a place where the rejected and hunted could find safety. Any news from the border patrols? June asked. Hana shook her head. All quiet. The collective hasn't tried another attack since the last one 6 months ago. The Starfall collective had not given up easily. After their first defeat, they had returned with larger forces and more powerful weapons. Each time they were driven back by Bayek and the sanctuary's defenses. June watched as Bayek turned and looked up toward them. Even from this distance he could feel the Guardian's consciousness touch his mind. Coming back now, Bayek's thoughts were clear and strong. Visitors approaching from the east, not enemies. Since his transformation, Bayek's abilities had grown even stronger. He could project his thoughts to anyone in the sanctuary, create energy shields that nothing could penetrate, and sense approaching beings from miles away. An hour later, June and Hana stood at the main entrance as a small transport ship landed on the visitor pad. The door opened to reveal Gil, their old friend and supply runner, now a full member of the sanctuary. With him was a thin woman with serious eyes. "This is Sora," Gil said. "She has news from the Galactic Alliance." In the meeting room, Sora explained her presence. "The Alliance has been watching your sanctuary for some time," she said. "What you've built here is remarkable. A place where different species live in harmony, protected by a guardian beast thought to be extinct. We just want to be left in peace," June said cautiously. Sora nodded. "That's why I'm here. The Alliance wants to officially recognize your sanctuary as a sovereign territory, under its protection. No more hiding." Hana leaned forward. "And the collective?" "That's the other part of my news," Sora said. "The Alliance Council has voted to sanction the Starfall Collective for illegal genetic engineering and rights violations against sentient species. Their power is diminishing." It seemed too good to be true. After years of fighting and hiding, the idea of official recognition and protection was hard to believe. "Why now?" June asked. Sora's face became more serious. "Because the collective is planning one final desperate attack. Our intelligence suggests they are bringing their entire fleet. They would rather destroy this place than let it continue to exist as a symbol against them." Through his mental link, June felt Bayek's concern. The Guardian had been listening through June's mind. "When?" Hana asked. 3 days, Sora replied. "The Alliance can send ships, but they won't arrive in time." That night, as darkness fell over the mountains, June sat with Bayek under the stars. The Great Guardian lay curled around the observation platform, his massive body providing warmth against the cool night air. "Are you afraid?" June asked, his hand resting on Bayek's glowing fur. "Not of fighting," Bayek replied in his mind. "Afraid of losing what we built. Losing family." June nodded. Despite Bayek's immense power, the collective had weapons that could cause terrible damage. Many innocent beings might be hurt or killed in the coming battle. "I wish there was another way," June said quietly. Bayek was silent for a long moment. Then his thoughts came with new intensity. "Maybe there is. Need to try something. Need to reach out." "Reach out to whom?" June asked. Bayek's violet eyes looked up at the star-filled sky. "To others like me. They are out there. Can feel them." For the next 2 days, Bayek spent hours on the highest peak of the mountain. His white form glowed brighter than ever, sending pulses of blue energy into the sky. Through their link, June felt Bayek's mind reaching out, calling across vast distances. On the morning of the 3rd day, their sensors detected the collective fleet entering the planet's atmosphere. Sora's information had been correct. It seemed like the entire collective armada had come for this final assault. June, Hana, and all the sanctuary residents prepared for the worst. The shield generators were at full power. Everyone who could fight was armed and ready. Those who couldn't were moved to the deepest chambers inside the mountain. As the collective ships came into view, filling the sky above the valley, June felt his heart sink. There were hundreds of them, far more than they had faced before. In the center was a massive command ship that dwarfed all others. "Commander Ryu," Hana said, looking at the scanner. "He's on that big one." A communication signal beeped. When they answered, Ryu's face appeared on the screen, older now with a scar across one cheek from their last encounter. "This ends today," he said without greeting. "The experiment known as L7 and all data related to it will be reclaimed. This facility and all within it will be destroyed, removing the stain of resistance to the collective's rightful ownership. We will never surrender," June replied. "This is our home and Bayek is family, not an experiment." Ryu's face showed no emotion. "Then you will all die. The collective cannot allow this defiance to continue." The communication ended. Outside, the ships moved into attack formation. Bayek stood on the highest peak, watching the fleet approach. Through their link, June felt no fear from the Guardian, only calm determination. "Stay in the shields," Bayek told June. "Keep everyone safe." The first volley of weapons fire came from smaller ships testing the sanctuary's defenses. The shields held, glowing blue under the assault. Then the larger ships moved forward, their main cannons aimed at the mountain. Just as they fired, something extraordinary happened. The sky above the sanctuary seemed to tear open. From the rifts came 5 massive forms, each as large as Bayek. but with different colored patterns glowing on their fur. More guardian beasts had arrived. They moved with incredible speed, placing themselves between the collective fleet and the sanctuary. Energy fields formed around them, absorbing the weapon fire. Beck joined them, his white form bright against the sky. Together, the 6 guardians created a network of energy that completely surrounded the sanctuary and neutralized the collective's weapons. In the command ship, Ryu watched in disbelief as his most powerful weapons had no effect. On screens around him, reports came in of systems failing, weapons shutting down, engines losing power. "Impossible," he whispered. The species was extinct. On the mountain, June and Hana watched in awe as the Guardians worked together. Through his link with Bayek, June felt the minds of the others. Each had been rescued and protected by beings from different worlds, just as he had saved Bayek. After the collective's weapons were neutralized, Bayek approached the command ship. Instead of attacking, he sent a powerful mental message that reached everyone in the fleet, including Commander Ryu. It wasn't words, but visions, images of harmony between species, of protection instead of exploitation, of a universe where the strong sheltered the weak rather than using them. When the visions ended, something had changed. The collective ships began to withdraw, all except the command ship. It remained motionless for a long time, then slowly descended to land on the valley floor. When the door opened, Commander Ryu walked out alone. He looked small and defeated as he approached the sanctuary entrance where June and Hana waited. "The collective will trouble you no more," he said quietly. "What I saw, what it showed me, I never understood what we were creating." The war was over. In the days that followed, ships from the Galactic Alliance arrived to formally recognize the sanctuary as protected territory. The Starfall Collective was disbanded, its resources redirected to healing the damage it had caused throughout the galaxy. Beck and the other Guardians took up their ancient role as protectors, each watching over different regions of space. But Beck always returned to the mountain sanctuary, to the mechanic who had saved him when he was small and rejected. One evening, as June and Beck watched the sunset together, June thought about the small, trembling creature he had found in the junkyard all those years ago. "Did you know?" June asked. "Even back then, did you know what you would become?" Beck's gentle thoughts filled June's mind. "No. Only knew June was kind when others were cruel. That was enough to begin growing." June smiled, placing his hand on the glowing white fur of the being who had changed his life and the lives of so many others. "I'm glad I found you that day," June said. "Not found," Beck corrected. "Saved. And in saving one small life, changed many worlds." Above them, the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, worlds where other rejected beings were finding their own strength, their own purpose, their own chance to grow. The end.